Welcome everybody to the 2022 Holistic Pain Relief Summit. I'm delighted you've taken the time to join us. My name is Trish Rossiter, your host. Our summit is for men and women living with chronic pain who would like to get back to functioning on a daily basis without the need for taking drugs and have invasive procedures. If you haven't already done so, I invite you to join our Facebook group. Each day of the summit, there will be a thread where you can post your questions. And as well, we'd love to hear your best takeaway from the speakers of the day. Today, I'm delighted to introduce to you Crystal Hawk. Crystal Hawk has a Master's of Education, and she's been a psychotherapist in private practice for 30 years in Toronto. She teaches and uses emotional freedom technique, not only in her practice, but also in her life for the past 25 years. This year, I'm delighted to announce that Crystal received an award from the Association for Comprehensive Energy Therapies for spreading the word. Crystal is going to speak to us today about emotional freedom technique, abbreviated mostly as EFT. Another word is tapping, and how it can help our pain. So welcome, Crystal. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you. I start off by I'd like to correct two things. I've been a psychotherapist for over 40 years, not 30 years.
My apologies.
It's okay. I'm 93 now, so this is a long time ago. And it's emotional freedom techniques. There's an S at the end of it. People always leave that off because there are many techniques part of EFT. But one of the main things that EFT does is get rid of pain. And, you know, it absolutely astounds me. It astounds me that the whole world hasn't caught on to this magic. So if someone has a headache and they take a pill, well, the pill has repercussions in their body. In 2.5 minutes, they could get rid of that headache and it would be gone. Or they get a cramp. You know how many times you get a cramp in your leg for some reason, or in a foot, sometimes in your hand. And actually, you only have to say cramp. You don't even have to do anything more than that. And somehow or other, the cramp goes. But I'd like to tell the story about my knee, because when people talk about EFT for pain, they always say, will it last? Will it this? Will it that? You know? So when I was 80, which is 13 years ago, I was getting this pain in my right knee, and it was quite scary because when the pain came, it was very sharp, and I always felt I was going to fall, and I'd grab the wall or something. I never did fall, and it came once in a while. I never knew when it was going to happen. So I went to my GP and I said, I'd like an X-ray, please. And when he got the results, I'll never forget, he said, you know, you're 80 years old, and it's bone on bone. There's nothing we can do about it. I can get you pain medication. And I said, no, that's okay. Thank you. And I started doing EFT. I was desperate. I think the best time when you're really, really desperate, that's the best time. There was nothing they could do. The medical profession said bone on bone. There's nothing they can do. They're going to give me medication for the rest of my life. So I started every morning and every night for 1 month, because I didn't know, because it came once in a while. So I didn't know if it was over. I don't know why I chose the month. Maybe a week would have done it. I have no idea. But every morning and every night, and we're talking about 3 minutes, at the most 4 minutes, every morning and every night before I went to bed. That's 13 years. I've never had the pain again.
So you've continued to do it.
Pardon?
Or did you stop at 30 days, or did you continue to do it for 13 years?
No. I stopped at the end of the month.
Okay.
That's it. I didn't know when, because it came once in a while, I didn't know if it was over or not. And I wasn't checking. I thought bone on bone, I better do something. And so I did it every morning and every night. We're talking about at the most 4 minutes.
Mhm.
So, I can't understand how human beings who have come to my workshop, who have learned how to do it, are not doing it every day. And I'm always thinking about how Dawson Church, who's one of the biggest researchers in EFT, why he said to somebody, you get up in the morning and you go into the bathroom, and you look at the mirror. Do you say, should I brush my teeth today? No, you brush your teeth. So why aren't you saying, should I tap today? Of course you should tap today. So by tapping every day for the last 25 years, my body has become accustomed to this modality so that when I get a cramp, I don't have to go through the whole thing. Sometimes I say EFT cramp, sometimes I just say cramp, and the cramp is gone. But the nice part is, I'm 93, and sometimes when I get into bed, like last night, when I got into bed, all of a sudden I had a pain in my lower back. Now that's going to keep me up from falling asleep. A really bad, sharp pain in my lower back. I must have twisted my back getting into bed or something. When you're my age, any movement can make a difference. And so I don't want to use my hands. I don't want to tap. So I do it in my mind. I do the whole thing in my imagination. Imagining tapping. I'm not moving my hands or anything. I get halfway through the thing and the pain is gone. Why aren't people using this every day? I just cannot imagine how people can learn this. And I've done, at this point, I've done close to 90 workshops teaching EFT. I do know people who continue to use it every day. Now, I've been teaching it for 20 years at the Toronto Gilda Club for people living with cancer. And they use it for everything, like after chemotherapy, people often have pains and neurological pains in their legs, which bother them at night. EFT gets rid of that pain. So I would say that about a third of the people that I've been teaching at, at Gilda's are definitely continuing to use it. But I had dinner the other night with a friend I haven't seen because of the virus. I haven't seen her in 2.5 years. And she has terrible, terrible pains in her body. And I taught her EFT maybe 6 years ago. And she came back to my apartment and she picked one thing in her body that really, really bothered her. And we did EFT. And she got this look on her face like, she'd been taking morphine. Can you imagine? And the pain was gone.
Wow.
So I think it's a bit scary for people when the pain goes. I think, first of all, it looks funny when you're tapping. You have to get over that thing that you look like you're doing something really stupid. I mean, it really is funny. I remember when I first saw it, I thought, I'm not going to do that, and then I thought this is really peculiar. And I was at a conference, at an energy conference, and a young girl happened to say, we were all having lunch, this is 25 years ago. She said, I don't know how I'm going to get home. I come from Alaska, and the only way I can get home is to fly, and I don't know how I can fly again. I managed to fly here, but and the only way you can get around in Alaska is to fly, and I'm terrified, and I don't know how I'm going to get home. And I thought, I'll try it out on her. She's desperate. Let's see if it works. And I said, well, I just learned something that looks really funny. If you don't mind me doing it, let's just try it out. Anyway, I got a wonderful letter from her, which I've saved all these years, telling me that she flew back without any problem. She's flying all over Alaska. And I thought, wow, that was the point when I said, maybe this works. Maybe I should pay more attention to it. So I began to take it seriously, and I began to study with the person who who created it. I started studying with him. And then I was lucky because somebody in Toronto started having energy psychology conferences, and all the big wigs from the States came, and I started learning all the various energy psychologies, and which is really wonderful. But the one with the research is EFT because it's so simple. It's so simple and it's so easy to do research. When you do research, and I'm a member of the research committee, and we're meeting tonight, as a matter of fact. We meet on Monday nights once a month at 8:30 at night from all over the world. And it's the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychologies. And I've been on that research committee now for about 15 years. And actually, I and two of my colleagues did a piece of research that was presented at their conference 4 years ago, before the virus. I went down to Santa Barbara, and it was a research that we did on anxiety, which isn't pain, but there's a lot of pain in anxiety. And what we did is that one of my colleagues did 4 minutes of mind mapping, brain mapping, and then I did 30 minutes of EFT, and then she did 4 minutes of brain mapping again. It showed a change and a difference. And the anxiety right across the board went down 50%. So
amazing.
And in that half hour, I couldn't spend the whole time tapping on them because they didn't know me. I had to introduce myself. I had to introduce the modality. I had to explain to them what we were doing. So they probably got 10 minutes of tapping, and we reduced everything to 50%. So at the beginning, in the United States, tapping was being done by social workers and psychologists, and they weren't researchers. And none of them had any apparatus in their office that they could do any research with. So there was no research at the beginning. And then all of a sudden, the researchers started getting interested in it. And today, there's over 275 tapping studies in English in peer-reviewed journals. I'm talking about the really accepted stuff, and 80 research studies in non-English journals. So it's gone all over the world. But for me, the reason why I think people should do tapping all the time, not just for pain, but to lower their cortisol level. So we know that if you tap just one tapping session, we're talking about 2.5 minutes, you lower your cortisol 25%. But Dr. Stapleton in Australia has found that people who tap for a whole week lower their cortisol level 47%. Cortisol measures how much stress you have in your body. So there's no pill in the entire world that can lower your cortisol. And here you have something right at your fingertips. And all you have to do is tap and make up something. Maybe you don't have anything wrong with you. I tap very much every day, even though my body's out of balance. I figure there must be something in my body that's out of balance. I mean, nobody's in perfect balance. So I tap, even though my body's out of balance. I do that every single day if I have nothing else to tap about. Or boy, I hope it doesn't rain today, or I hope my sister doesn't phone me or something like that. I tap on something, or I'm feeling anxious about my this or that or something. I make up something. And just so I can get the tapping done and get the cortisol level down. So when you have something that's a miracle like this, an absolute miracle, I simply don't understand why the whole world doesn't want to learn this and want to keep it up. The amount of research now on depression, on urges to stop eating certain things. At Gilda's, people had to stop eating sugar. It's really sugar makes tumors grow. And people were tapping on, even though I have this urge for sugar, and then they found that they just weren't attracted to anything with sugar. It isn't a matter that they didn't want it, but they could look at a cake or something, and there was no attraction to take a piece.
Okay,
but but it works for alcoholism as well and for all those different kinds of things. So you wonder why one little modality can be, because it's working on the emotions. It's called emotional freedom techniques. You're free of the emotion that kept whatever was there. And believe it or not, when you have pain, there is an emotion holding it back. So for my friend who had that terrible pain that she came to my apartment, we tapped on, even though I have this pain in my left leg, just below the knee. It's about the pain is a throbbing pain. It's about an 8. And when I have it, I feel very overwhelmed and I'm angry because it keeps me up at night. And I have a fear, and that fear is in my chest. So there's a whole big story that goes with it. So you tap that 3 times, and then you just say, my pain, my pain, my pain, my pain, my pain, my pain. And her pain went away. And she was just shocked. So you mentioned that you sometimes have a pain. You don't have it right now?
No, just at night, and
At
in a
night.
particular position when I lie.
And which leg is it in?
It's my right leg, below
Your
my
right-
knee.
Your right leg below your knee. And
Mhm.
when you have it, how would you describe it? A throbbing or a this or a piercing or?
It's very uncomfortable. I want to push my fingers into it. It's a tender area when I do that, but it seems to help.
But is it a
But when I say-
throbbing or a piercing or what kind of a pain?
It's a sharp ache.
A
That
sharp,
doesn't really make sense, but
we'll call it a sharp pain.
yeah.
Right? And how do you feel about having this pain? What kind of feelings do you have about that? When it comes up, what do you first feel?
Well, it's when I'm trying to get to sleep, so I get very frustrated and
Yeah.
annoyed. And sometimes I may reach for, a healing gel that I put on it, or
Sure. And where do you feel that anger in your body?
that's something I'm very good at ignoring, I should say, Crystal.
Do you feel it in your head, or do you feel it in your chest, or do you feel it in your gut?
At the time, because it's in the middle of the night, I'm not aware of it at all.
Mhm. So you just feel angry. So let's start tapping. You start right here on what we call the karate chop point, because if you were going to do a karate chop, that would be where you tap. Okay,
Right.
you're just doing this as a good sport so that the people watching us can see the modality. Okay,
Okay.
so you're just being a
Perfect.
good sport to let us use your left leg just below the knee just for this. So even though I have this sharp pain in my left leg,
Even though I have this sharp pain actually in my right leg,
it's about an 8. Is that what you
it's
said?
about an 8 out
about
of 10.
About an 8. And sometimes I feel very frustrated
And sometimes I feel very frustrated
when it comes and I get angry.
when it comes, and I get angry because it's interrupting my sleep.
And I don't know where that anger is in my body, but it's somewhere
And I don't know where that anger is in my
body, but it's somewhere. And I'm a good
somewhere.
person
I'm a good person
and I take care of myself.
and I take care of myself.
Okay. And then we say that twice more. Even though I have this pain in my
Even
leg,
though I have this pain in my right leg
it's about
when
a
I'm sleeping at
it's about
night,
an
it's about
8.
an 8.
The
It's about
sharp
an 8 out
pain.
of 10. Sharp
Yes.
pain.
And it makes me very frustrated and angry.
I get very frustrated and angry.
And I'm a
because it
good
keeps me
person
awake. I'm a good person
and I respect myself.
and I respect myself.
Even though I have this pain in my leg,
Even though I have this pain in my leg
below the knee,
below the knee,
It's about an 8.
It's about an 8.
And it's a sharp pain, and it makes me very frustrated and sometimes angry.
It's a very sharp pain, and it makes me frustrated and angry.
I deeply and profoundly accept myself.
I deeply and profoundly accept myself.
Now, before we go on, I'd like to point out that somehow we're not sure why this works exactly. We know the outcome, but we're not sure. But we think perhaps because we've stated the problem clearly and concisely. Now, people say, oh, isn't that putting the problem into my body? No, we're stating what we want to get rid of. That's how EFT works. We're stating the problem clearly, and then we're stating that we're respecting ourselves, we're taking care of ourselves. So we have these two diametrically opposed ideas. We have a problem, and we are good about ourselves. And we think that maybe this creates a little confusion in the body. And at that moment, maybe we can get in to the meridians and tap on them. It might just create an opening. We're not sure, because there's just a lot of theories about why this works. And I don't worry about the theories. All I know is it does work. And my knee still doesn't hurt after 13 years. And I'm okay with that, you know, and I never have a headache because I can get rid of it in a second, and my backaches are gone and everything. So I don't care about it. But now the research is showing us that so many genes change. Over 69 genes change in your body when you do the tapping. So you're doing something very, very positive for self. Then you start tapping here on the top of the head where that soft spot was when you were first born. And some people tap around like this, and some people tap like this. I just tap in the center, and you say my pain, because it's a shortened phrase. So you're reminding your unconscious of what you're talking about. My pain. And then you tap the beginning of your eyebrow, just the beginning of the eyebrow, right by the nose, on that bone, right on the bone, not on the forehead. And you say out loud, my pain.
My pain.
Yeah, I always speak out loud. I always say it out loud. And then you follow the bone, and then you tap on the bone right here. You tap on the edge of the bone, and you say, my pain. And then under here, you tap. Here's the stomach meridian. I tap here when I'm walking past Baskin Robbins because I don't want to go in and have an ice cream cone. I tap here and say, I don't need that ice cream. Right in the center. And then you tap under your nose, right in the center. And you say, my pain. And then in the groove of your chin, my pain.
My pain.
And then on both sides under your collarbone. And I once asked Gary Craig, who developed this, where is that spot? And he said, oh, you're way too far over. Come back in under the, if you find this little soft spot here and go down an inch and then an inch on both sides, it's just below the collarbone and the sternum. There's a little groove in there. He said on both sides of where a man's tie would be, you know. So my pain, my pain. And then the funny one is the spleen meridian is 4 inches down, just 4 inches down on the seam line. And you can tap that, or you can do both of them and give yourself a hug and tap that, and then go back and tap this. So that's what we're talking about, how simple it is. And you would tap that about 3 or 4 times, and your pain would go away from your leg. So it didn't take very much time. And, you know, adults are always forgetting where the tapping points are. And children say, how can they forget? You go here and you go down. And look, you go down. How can people forget? You know, it's such a simple thing to do. And adults constantly write me and say, I lost my piece of paper. Please send me the instructions again, blah, 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 you know. And I'd be happy to send instructions out to people who requested it, and also to tell them where they can go and study. And I'm teaching again. I'm going to be giving a course for people who live on Zoom, so people can come from all over the world. It doesn't matter where they want to come from. I'm going to be posting, I'll let people know when my workshop's going to be if they're interested, and they can learn it
Fantastic.
and do it for themselves. But, you know,
Fantastic.
it's hard for me to understand because it's so much a part of my life and because it's kept me pain-free on so many occasions.
Mhm.
About 3.5 years ago, I was walking up Palmerston Boulevard here in Toronto, past a loading dock, and a man dropped a case of melons on me.
Oh,
Yes, I have a broken finger and smashed my face, and my knees were pretty broken up, and my leg got very badly slashed. And on the way to the hospital in the ambulance, the young attendant was so amazed at me being able to, I couldn't stop the bleeding, was spurting out of my leg, but the pain, my blood pressure stayed normal, my heart rate stayed normal. By the time we got to the hospital, he had ordered the book I wrote called Be Your Own Healer.
be your own healer. Okay.
Self-care with Therapeutic Touch, which is the book I
Okay.
wrote on how to do therapeutic touch for yourself. But I was doing EFT for the pain and therapeutic touch to lower the whole situation. And he was so impressed that he ordered, by the time we got to the hospital, he had ordered the book from the website tlhealingpathways.com, which was really amazing. It's
I love that.
after teaching EFT for 20 years at Gilda's, I decided that they should also learn. I had brought Therapeutic Touch to Canada, and I decided they should learn to do Therapeutic Touch another way, another method of getting rid of pain. Therapeutic Touch is wonderful to get rid of pain. So I began to create a course. There was no course in the world to teach self-care with Therapeutic Touch. So I created one. And then several years later, Dr. Krieger, who's the person who developed Therapeutic Touch, at a conference in Chicago, she asked me to write the book. And Allison Cook, a very wonderful, wonderful Therapeutic Touch teacher from Sterling, Ontario, and I together, we wrote this book, Be Your Own Healer, and it's gone around the world, the world. Just last week, we sold 58 copies, which is just amazing. Going around the world, and people are learning to get rid of another way to get rid of pain. So between the two things, I've been doing Therapeutic Touch now for 40 years, and I've been doing EFT for 25. So people say to me, how can you tell me how to get to be 93 like you are? And I say, you got to do something for yourself. You got to pay attention and learn some modalities that you can do for yourself that really work. And not just manage pain. I'm really sick of people who say I can manage pain. I don't want to manage pain. I want to eliminate pain. Managing pain is not good enough for me. If I have a pain in my back, I'd like it to go. I don't want to manage it. So I have some biases that people have to get used to, because I want the whole thing. I don't want part way. And that's the way I feel about emotional freedom techniques and Therapeutic Touch together have been the two miracles that I happen to be lucky enough to get involved with, and that have kept me, being young, feeling young, or whatever, feeling well. I don't know what you want to call it. But today I take no medications except blood pressure medication. Absolutely no other medication. And I remember that when my sister died and I had broken heart surgery, it's called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. And all of a sudden there were 3 large firemen in my apartment and my children, because I called to say there's something wrong with me. I couldn't breathe. I knew there was something wrong. And just after she died, and the fireman said, "Where's your aspirin?" And I don't know, I said, there's no aspirin in this apartment. He said, where's your aspirin? And I said, there is no aspirin in this apartment. I did then buy a bottle of aspirin. I've never taken one, but I just thought maybe I should have a bottle of aspirin. Anyway, when we got to the hospital, I want to tell you, because this is 8-9 years ago, the doctor said to my son, where's your mother's bag of pills? Well, you can laugh.
Of course. No, but that's the norm.
That is so insulting.
Yes.
That is so insulting. My son said, at that point, I wasn't taking any blood pressure medication, so I was taking nothing. So he said, she doesn't take any pills. And he said, no, her bag of pills.
Yeah.
And that is how they treat an older person. So when I go to see a doctor of any kind, if I have anything that I am complaining about, which isn't often, their attitude is, well, she's doing pretty good. She should be grateful. She's 93 and she's still walking. That is not nice. That is not nice. No. I think we have a right to be as old and live as many years as we can. And if we've taken care of ourselves, because my main doctor is a homeopath, if we've taken care of ourselves in many ways, I have a homeopathic doctor, I have therapeutic touch, I have EFT, then we should be treated respectfully. And I think that if people want to learn these modalities, they could live in a much happier life. The Tylenol stays in your body for weeks. It's not doing you any good. There's no reason to be taking these heavy, heavy narcotics. I have lots of friends who've had hip replacements and knee replacements without any medication because they've had therapeutic touch and EFT throughout the whole thing. So I really didn't want you to have a webinar without emotional freedom techniques, because I really, they're giving me an award for passing the word around, and I really am passing the word around, because you can see that I really, really have lived it. It's not just that I'm talking about it. I really lived it, and it's been good for me.
You're living proof.
Well, I wouldn't be here without it, because there's a million times a day when someone my age has a kink here or a little thing there that happens or this or that. Besides the things like you slam a door on your finger or something happens, you stub your toe. I mean, these kind of things happen, of course, but I'm talking about the little things that happen. That just because you move wrong or something, because you are an ancient person. Anyway, but you don't have to be in pain. And chronic pain ruins your life. Chronic pain takes over your life and just ruins it, because you wake up with it, you go to sleep with it, you can't move with it, it restricts what there's really no enjoyment of life. And if you can tap into that chronic pain, let's say you've had it for years, you reduce it by half. Maybe because you've had it so many years, your body doesn't want to give it all up. Your body's gotten used to having it, so it won't give it all up, because the pain comes from your head, not from where the pain comes in your body. So the pathway's there and your body doesn't want to give that up. But let's say you got half of it gone. You chip away at it. That would be worthwhile.
Absolutely.
So I hope a lot of people ask me for a prize, and I send them out the modality and the information of where they can learn this. And they can learn it anywhere all over the world. And if you're in Australia, you're really lucky, because Dr. Stapleton, she is really great. And she's done all kinds of research. She's a professor at a university there. And she's just doing wonderful, wonderful work. And
well, I'm so grateful that you shared your story with us, and that you've brought this and therapeutic touch to Canada. You're spreading the word.
getting an award for it. I can't believe it. I haven't, they're mailing me the award, but I'm waiting to see it.
It's fantastic.
I know.
It's truly fantastic. Yes.
And I'm so pleased that you asked me, because I wouldn't want this webinar to go on without emotional freedom techniques, because it's really important for people to learn this very, very simple modality. It looks so stupid. It looks so silly. And it takes 2.5 minutes, and then you're without pain.
Right.
And one day we
Well,
might
certainly.
even find out why it works.
I'll be putting it to practice for sure, and sharing it with my girls, who seem to really reach for the Tylenol way too much, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. We don't like that.
Yes. No, not at all. No,
No.
because it hurts our bodies. It hurts our organs.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Crystal, very, very much. I
It was
really
a pleasure
appreciate it.
meeting you. And I wish you good
Likewise.
luck on this webinar. I'll be looking forward to taking part in it and be
Thank
sending
you.
out the information to my people on my list. I'm sure they'll want to know about it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and for those tuning in, we will have that link for you to reach out to Crystal to receive the information that she's willing to share, so we can get some good information. If you know of anyone else who can benefit from these amazing speakers, please ask them to join the Holistic Pain Relief Summit.com, where the recordings will be available for you to listen to for 24 to 36 hours. And be sure to come back, please, to listen to the rest of the interviews on the Holistic Pain Relief Summit and meet other fantastic practitioners such as Crystal. We're grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.